All right, I'd like to call to order the October 23rd, 2025 Shade Tree Commission meeting. All right, so we'll do a call to order, and which I just did, and now the roll call. And so Rob,
Here.
Wagner here.
my God, Carol, why did I blank totally on your name?
It's okay.
Carol, it's been a long day. Carol's here, and then Dan is absent and Trish is here. Right. Okay, so if we could please pause for a moment of silence and then we'll stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Okay.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, did everybody have a chance to take a look at the agenda? Right. Any additions or comments? We missing anything? Yep, it looks good to me. All right, so I make a motion to approve this evening's agenda. Do I have a second? Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
No.
Huh?
Uh-uh.
What's missing?
There's nothing on there about the newsletter, tree inventory, the ordinance. None of the things from last week were included again this.
Okay. All right, so we'll add that under old business as 8.4 is the newsletter. 8.5,
We're waiting on the grant until spring, I guess.
yes.
Tree
but-
inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which we'll do. We can talk offline and
Okay.
set up a date.
The other was the the status of the ordinance. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
The tree tags?
For Gable Park. No, it is. It's 8.3. It's on the second page. All right, so newsletter, tree inventory and status of the ordinance revision.
Yes,
Okay. Anything else?
that's all I've found so far.
Okay. All right.
As revised, we have to go to approve the agenda.
Yes, okay. All right, so I will make another motion to approve the agenda with the following additions. 8.4 under old business, the newsletter. 8.5 the tree inventory. 8.6 and status of the ordinance revision. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and the agenda is approved unanimously. Okay. All right, do we have any public comment on the agenda items? And just basically it's on the agenda. There'll be another opportunity for public comment later, but if you have any comments on the agenda, we can take those. None? Okay. All right, hearing none. All right, has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes from last month's meeting, the September 25th, 2025 meeting? Thank you, Carol, for putting those together.
You betcha.
All righty, and I think it looks fine. Any concerns, Rob,
No, I don't think, I
You
think.
good?
it's okay.
Carol?
Yeah, it looks good,
Okay.
I think.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 25th, 2025 Shade Tree Commission meeting. Do I have a second?
Sure.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion is passed unanimously. All right, moving on to new business. So we are going to discuss and take possible action on Newt Square and Bloom's proposal to plant trees adjacent to Westchester Pike within the business district in Westchester. I met with Paul earlier this month, and he is looking for just a couple of things. We had seen this proposal a couple of years ago. And I think, Rob, you had gone out with Paul, right, to
Yes.
go check things out, and it looked good. But what I think Paul's looking for right now with the new square in Bloom is if they move forward with the tree plantings that we had already discussed and approved, what he's really looking for is a pretty firm list of tree species that would be appropriate. It makes it a lot easier when you when the new town in Bloom is approaching property owners to ask, if they would be interested in that. They would like to know what trees are available. Thanks, Paul.
Sure.
And I think, yeah, there was, I think in our. All right, thanks for this information, Paul. So anyway, Paul, if you wanted to, that was just kind of my overview, but if you would like to, to go ahead and provide a little more.
So we're way early. This is in its infancy. Paul Seligson, 4727 Mill Hollow Lane. I did meet with Steve Neese and we talked about when it would be convenient and suitable for the township to help watering. And based on the watering schedule, that's really that's what decides our timing. So because there's the median trees and they need to be cared for, we decided that the best time would be to plant the end of 26. So it's not the end of this year, it's the end of next year. And then the watering it would be 2 times a month in 2027, and it would be once a month in 2028. And am I saying that right? Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, I think what we had talked about was that with all the watering we're doing right now, if they had to water additionally, I mean, we bring in, when we do the watering, we bring in 2 guys and they're literally here overnight, all night long, doing all the watering. And so I couldn't add anything else to their watering schedule in that time. So this is what Paul and I talked.
So there is a variable. I am running for office. And should I win, I probably would be able to plant more trees. I mean, we could get more yeses. If I don't win, we could plant some trees, but not quite as many. So what I'm looking for, first of all, I would like to share the idea with the Shade Tree Commission. I don't know if you want to assign me a liaison person, but if you did, that's fine with me, so that I would be saying to somebody, this is how how things are progressing. Oh, I've hit a snag, I'm 3 months behind, actually, I have all green lights, now I'm a month ahead. Somebody, you know, I mean, I would like to know if perhaps Shade Tree wants to assign a liaison person. And my other ask is, it would be ever so helpful to have a one-page document. If Shade Tree Commission views this positively, that when we go from landowner to landowner and people that own Suds Beer and people that own D&K, it would be great to have something with the shade tree on stationery saying, we like this idea and we endorse it. That would be helpful in securing positive responses. I mean, this is all, we're going to private property and they don't, you know, nobody has to do anything. So it's all. We need to get the buy-in. Please. I did get the financing, so the financing's done. I have the money. So, and the people know that it's Boron and it's Henderson Group. That's the two financing entities, and they kind of understand that it's a little bit of a fluid situation. It could be more trees and more money. It could be fewer trees and a little bit less money. So it goes like that. And we have one bank account where the grant came in for the Goshen Walking Trail, and that's where the money's going to go into, so that it's a separate account under Newtown Square and Bloom, which is a 501c3. And they can look at it. If any of you want to look at it, feel free, just to make sure that we're spending the money correctly.
I'll talk a little bit, just kind of and high level right now, because I think we're going to have to talk about a couple places that I saw on the map of places you're hoping to plant trees. Just because I think there's going to be some sight line issues, but other than that, like, just kind of talk through like some of this areas, because like it's pretty limited as what I saw you were doing. And I think it'd be helpful that not only that this group would know that, but for anybody who watches
So first of all,
yeah.
you know, you could see my little dots of the proposed trees, and there might be dots that I'm missing where you think I should have a dot and I don't have a dot. And I would welcome if you would say, hey, what about here? What about there? So please feel free to add dots. Naturally, what happens like 3 days in advance is we have to call 1-800-GO-DIG or something like that and discover if there's any power lines or gas lines underneath. So we might have a wonderful list like this, and then we call 1-800-GO-DIG, and that it becomes a list like that. I mean, that could very much happen. That's the reality of it all. The other thing is of course, just because I want trees somewhere, or that doesn't mean the landowner is going to agree. So for instance, I would like to approach what used to be Benari Jewelers and is now an eye doctor, and ask if they, and I have somebody who will lift up concrete and make 3.5 foot square holes. And we get points for that on our MS4 if we dig up concrete. So that it's sort of like a double bonus for the township when we dig up concrete and plant trees. So I would like to plant 2 trees in front of the eye doctor. They may say yes, but they may not.
Is that one of the ones on here between 1 and 15?
No, you know, because these were definite.
Okay, got it.
These were definite, but as of 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I have to go back and see if they're still definite, or perhaps they want more trees. It could be that Brinchester wants more trees. They have the space for more trees. I think I pitched 6 trees to them, but they have space for a lot more trees down there.
E. Myers is a great asset. I mean, that is one.
Well, that's a
horrendous looking site.
That's a really, really difficult little tiny, if you can visualize on the 252
Yeah.
side of Niemeyer's, there's that asphalt like
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then there's the rusted out cyclone fence right next to it. And all the cars, you have to, when you're at a stoplight, that's what you stare at, is the rusted out cyclone fence. So I don't know if you all noticed last time, but we did plant a tree at Malloy's Auto, and it was a dwarf hornbeam. And that's what I was thinking for right next to Niemeyer's is. Niemeyer's is fine with it. They say if I want to do it, and as long as it doesn't cost them anything, they don't mind. So
Are those horn beams even still there at Malloy's?
I'm sorry?
Are those horn beams still there?
No, he took it out.
I thought he did. I thought they were missing.
He took it out and he planted, low-lying stuff and no, it's gone.
So what is the new versus the old? As old as what was
So,
there?
you know, okay, so let's talk species. First of all, let me ask Steve if I answered his question. Did I answer your question?
Well, I don't know if you totally, but I think you kind of gone around, but as I understand it, it's basically from like Bryn Mawr Avenue, no further west than, Boot Road.
Oh, not that.
And you're
far.
not even
Clyde-
really going.
Clyde
forward.
Lane.
Yeah,
Clyde
so you're
Lane.
keeping it mostly on the eastern side of the township. And again, the goal is prominently on Westchester Pike. It might go a little bit down on 252 in a couple spots.
Well, we've already done 252. It might go into St. Albans Circle.
Yeah,
It could go there if
Yeah.
we could find agreement by anybody.
yeah,
It could go in front of Rite Aid,
Yeah.
the former Rite Aid.
Yeah.
Or somewhere.
But that's where we looked, right in that little spot there next to the paint store.
You and I made a
We did there,
painstaking.
And then we looked in the shopping center there, which they obviously widened the road this much but are they still doing a sidewalk there eventually? Is that,
the sidewalk, there's room for the sidewalk still. The challenge that's there, is that, if we put the sidewalk in, it drastically impacts the parking in that parking lot.
So where is
what we
this?
need.
Where do you?
And
You can't
that
get in
lot,
there now.
that lot really can't afford for us to
Yeah.
lose any more spaces. So that was the reason why the sidewalk wasn't done up front. We would have lost, I think 3 or 4 more spaces, and in that, there's times of the day that 3 or 4 more spaces is way more than what they could afford to lose. So, we're trying to see what options are going forward, because the angle of the parking would have to be greater if
Right.
we put the sidewalk in. So that's the issue.
You're
Yeah, I didn't
speaking
know.
in front of Casey's, is that? what you-
That whole center there.
Okay.
well, I know they took a lot of big trees down there in front of the Kelly building because they were all had root rot on them, those big oaks. So that's, because we had looked down there and then, now those trees are gone. So
Right.
they need something there would be nice. if Something could go there. They could probably take 3 trees, minimum,
It's up to them.
Yeah.
And I give them a paper which says if they want to redevelop it or they want to cut it down, have at it. I mean, I realize that they may want to reconfigure things and a tree shouldn't stop anything. I would very much like to meet with the landlord association of Casey's Shopping Center, St. Albans Shopping Center, and see but I don't know, now I'm hearing about the sidewalk, but I was thinking of meeting with them to pitch the idea of adding more trees. There were 4 trees, one of them didn't make it and is kind of dead now. There's 3 right now, and it looks quite good, but they need more, that would, and the way that they plug the trees in, the cars can still park nicely. It's like it's not using up, they've done it very thoughtfully, how they made the holes, and the cars still can all fit in. I see how it's done.
I think that's not one owner that I think every business has that building they own. Like Casey's owns Casey's.
Yeah, that's
No.
one of the challenges
Yeah.
in that shopping center is that most of the storefronts are owned by a different
Person.
owner. And so, it's a little bit more challenging than like going into a strip mall.
Right.
Where the strip mall's all owned by one.
Well, they do have an association,
Yes.
a landlord's association, and I've gone before them before.
Yeah.
And, it's just a roll of the dice to see if they'll agree,
Sure.
and I want to do where the beer store is too.
Sure.
I have lofty ideas. So, but here's one of my questions, and that's tree species. Originally, when we went to PennDOT 5 years ago, PennDOT said, I said then to PennDOT, I would like to have native trees. And they said, the warrior trees, the really good trees that can sustain high exhaust and road salt and drought are not native trees. And then I said, well, can I have a list? And they gave me the list of their 5 top performers. And that's what we planted on 252 North and South, and they've all lasted fine. Now, there wasn't a suggestion from this group to plant a crabapple in front of the Howard Dorn building, if you can imagine where that is. And I planted 4 crabapples. 3 of them survived, 1 of them didn't. But all of the species that were suggested by PennDOT survived nicely or are surviving nicely. Since then, there has been a Harrisburg, I think that they've said that all trees in the median or trees in, in a highway setting have to be native. And I don't know if this falls in that category or not. If these are street trees on either side, it's not the median.
Well, it's not the median. The question would be is, does PennDOT consider that because it's their road?
Yes.
Do they consider that a requirement? And I don't know that answer.
And so my question would be, who do you see going to PennDOT? I mean, if you see me going to PennDOT, I'm happy to, but I'm not sure that, if I have I'm not a municipal.
Yeah,
authority.
I think it's probably a joint
Right,
piece, Paul. I think it's probably you plus either myself
I
or
think so.
maybe George or even somebody here from this group, from the Shade Tree Commission going in, if we're going to do that.
so the question of species is,
I think there's going to be 2 issues on species with PennDOT typically. One is how big does it grow? Because depending on how big the trunk
There-
gets, that's always an issue. for
well,
them.
we don't want it higher than 35 feet.
Yeah, there's several issues, so those are gonna be the kind of things that they're gonna want to understand.
Right. And I must say that it was very successful the last time. So I'm not in any way, I mean, I welcome the PennDOT
Sure.
because we don't want to do it twice. We don't want to do it once and then have them say, well, nice try, guys, but you know what, you put in the wrong kinds of trees. So, and that's a whole nother problem. So I want to do it once and correctly. What else do I? So I talked about tree species, I talked about assigned liaison, yes or no. You can let me know about that, and a letter of endorsement. Those are the 3 things that I would like you all to consider. So what questions do you guys have for me?
So once those trees are planted, who has responsibility for the long-term maintenance and requirements for those trees?
Orphan, they're kind of orphan. Yeah, if Cavallo, which has 4 big trees on their field, they almost didn't let me do it. If I would have made it any more stringent, they would have said, forget it. And they were very keen that I provide them a paper that if they developed that lot, they could cut the trees down. And I said, sure. So I don't know,
But they'd have to replace them because we make them.
No.
I assume, Paul, both of your
What's that?
donors are aware that
Yeah,
the
we would.
property owner can then come back and do that?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Land development.
kind of.
Well, I think they need to be aware
All right,
that,
I'll let them know.
yeah, I mean, I think that anytime we're doing that, it's, if somebody's being gracious enough to give us that funding, if we're not holding, one of the things that we do is, we let the folks know when we plant trees in the right of way in neighborhoods like we're doing over on
November.
Ashley, they become responsible and there's some ownership
Right,
into maintaining those and going forward. And we make them put up some dollars just, for the bags and those kind of things to make them kind of understand the need for involvement. I know it's harder to do when you're dealing with businesses, but at the same time, these trees help beautify their property and help the landscaping in front of their businesses. And, we got to sell that on that level too.
So I can go into the files and find my, the agreement that I've had in the past, 5
Okay.
years ago, and perhaps we can just tune up the wording so that there might be a phrase that would cover, some
I
of them.
just think it's important because there's an investment of the folks that are donating money.
Right,
You're asking for an investment of township time and resources, which, I think in this case makes sense. But if somebody just turns around and cuts it down 2 years later, after we've done all that,
Right.
it seems like there's a little bit of a challenge in that, and I don't know that we make, CCRC is requiring us to have a 25-year commitment to the trees that they're planting at Drexel Lodge. And so I had to go extend our lease with the municipal authority for Drexel Lodge so that we could do that. And so, it wasn't hard. We had some extensions in the lease, so we just exercised those extensions. But my point is, when we're asking people to make an investment, we're asking taxpayer dollars we just want to make sure that there's some level of commitment from the property owner.
so I'm gonna get the acknowledgement and
Yeah.
the agreement acknowledgement and I'll share it with you
Thank you.
and we'll work on it. Another question? Any other?
So are these trees going to be planted in the right of way then? So then would they become then oversight by shade tree? Or some of them going to be planted outside of?
How
The
many
right
feet
way.
is the right of way?
Well, that's $1 million question. I've been trying to find that question out.
When we're on Westchester Pike, the amount of right of way outside of where the roadway is, particularly in the area that you're looking, is very limited. We've had to go, like, the curb line is getting pretty close on both sides to the edge of the right of way, so we'll have to look.
So for instance, the Acme, in front of the Acme parking center, all those trees, those big trees there, are they, that's on Acme, that's not right of way.
Yeah.
There would be nothing close, that's right on the sidewalk.
And that's a state road, so most of that.
Yeah,
If you take kind of where the sidewalk is, that edge of the sidewalk pretty close is the edge of the right of way.
okay, so the answer to this question would, in my mind, is no, it would not be in the right of way.
Okay. Alrighty.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then okay, great. Thank you so much, Paul, for that. Really appreciate it. Okay, so Paul has asked for a couple of things from us. And one, do we have a volunteer for a liaison?
I'll do it.
And so Rob will do it, and then I'm happy to be backup if for some reason you're busy or whatever, and you need a firm answer, you can feel free to reach out to me as well. And then if you want to just CC both of us then on whatever correspondence, and then that way we'll have backup. Okay, so Rob, endorsement letter, I'd be happy to write that for you. How soon do you need it? Okay, perfect. All righty, and then the tree list. So we have our tree list that's in the ordinance, or that we already have, so we have a tree list. But we still need, really, it's going to be PennDOT, it sounds like that's really gonna be the decider on that.
Well,
And
not if it's not in the right of way.
You can check with PennDOT though.
yeah, he still needs a check. Right? Yeah, well, that's part of the reason why I was asking, yeah, that's true, yeah.
If it's not in the right of way, I mean.
They have governance over top of their road. So anything that could protrude into any lane over time, it's a 35-foot tree, most certainly they want to have a discussion about it, guaranteed.
So I think that it would be safe to say whatever PennDOT suggests and whatever trees, I don't think it's outside of the realm to say that we would overrule that by any stretch. So I would think that whatever PennDOT says we'll be okay with. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if PennDOT is gonna come back and say something that we are totally against, then we can have that conversation, but we'll look at it, yeah. I mean, if PennDOT comes back and says this is what we recommend, that's one thing. If PennDOT says this is what you need to plant, that's a different thing.
Right.
We should go to PennDOT and take your list and say, this is what we have as our list, and then see if there's agreement from that list.
My recommendation would be us take your planting spots to PennDOT and let us figure out first what the right of way is, and then figure out what the impact would be based on where we were planting and what type of tree we think would go in that location. And then I would go to PennDOT. I would make one visit to PennDOT and not two. And so I would try to come up with our list of trees that we would like to have in those locations first, and then go to PennDOT. And then if they have a problem with our list, I mean, we know you have 5 species that they've given you. If this board's okay with those 5, and you're just doing those 5, I think it's going to be easy. But if there's some places that you're saying, we would really like to, we would rather have some of our native trees. We would want to see if we can't do that, depending on where they would be and what kind of, like, some of the spots may just be too close to the roadway, even if they're out of the right of way. And so that would be the concern. But I just think if we kind of come up with where you think you're going to be planting, most of them, and we go before them with the list of trees that you're anticipating at those locations, I think it will be a much better conversation with PennDOT.
So you're saying go with the species already filled in or not?
I would go in with knowing what their 5 are. And then I would go in with any spots that we thought we wanted something different, but have which one of theirs as a backup to that spot, if we couldn't do that. That's how I would go. So for example, if I'm looking at the first one here, Nehemiah's, and you have the dwarf hornbeams, but if we looked at our list of natives and had another suggestion for that, I would list our first preference and then our second preference and go into PennDOT that way. That way, if our first preference, if they come back and say, we just don't think it's going to survive and we're willing to take the risk, that's up to us. But if it's an issue of, we don't want that big of a tree that close to the road, then that's not up to us. That really could be up to them. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I think I got it.
So
I'm happy to sit down and go over it with you again, but I basically see it, like, I think we have an expectation, if it's in the right of way, that it's a native. Similar to what PennDOT's is. But we also understand that if it's in the right of way, depending on how close to the roadway it is, salt and other pollution pieces might impact whether the tree survives. And they may want to weigh in on some of that.
So, I mean, this is how I would do it myself. I would go to PennDOT first and say, what's your preference these days? Because what they gave us was 2017, 18. I mean, things may have changed. They may say that the species that they love so much, they like them, but there's actually better species out there. We don't even know it, right?
And we might hear that, but I think here's the key. and here's the reason why I say this. If there's a spot where the Shade Tree Commission really thinks it ought to be a native and it's far enough away that a native would be okay, then I'm not so sure PennDOT gets to pick. And so there's this balance between allowing PennDOT to have input and also at the same time, if it's just a preference, that's one thing. If it's a requirement, it's something different. And I think that's why I'm saying that.
But I still maintain, I still think that
That's fine.
PennDOT maybe have a list that's better than their list that they had in 2019, and we're not seeing that. We're gonna go in with our, by this time, it's almost gonna be an 8-year-old list, and we're gonna say.
Well, I think we can reach out to PennDOT and get that list if that's all we want to do.
Yeah, I think that would,
That wouldn't require a meeting.
no, well,
I just wouldn't go into a meeting with PennDOT with it totally blank, because if that's the case, I think that what the Shade Tree's position on natives gets totally overridden by PennDOT. That's my concern.
so that would be perfect, to get the list from PennDOT without a meeting.
Okay.
And is that something you would do, Mr. D?
Well, that's not something I would normally do, but I will ask George to see if he can have his contact at PennDOT provide us.
Okay, great.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, there's a lot of conversation. So let me try to summarize what I heard. And so correct me if I'm wrong. So is the recommendation that that Paul and someone from the township and maybe even someone from here on Shade Tree meet with PennDOT, show them the proposal, make sure they're okay with that, and then have a list of what the preferred species is, and then have an alternate. And then if the DOT isn't okay with that, then we would just go with whatever they
What I think
prefer.
we actually came down to was this. I'm going to request George reach out to PennDOT
Okay,
and get whatever PennDOT's latest list of
Okay.
trees that they recommend along their roadways is. And let you review that list of trees, determine if that's something that you guys think makes sense to be along our roadways, as in addition to what PennDOT is saying. And in some cases, PennDOT may not give us a choice, and that's okay. But if it's places where it's further back out of the right of way and isn't going to impact the right of way, then there may be opportunity for us to say, we still would rather have the native trees that our ordinance requires, and then we can go forward. So
Okay.
that's what my recommendation would be.
okay, that makes
Before, and then we put our list together and go before PennDOT saying, here's what we're wanting to do. Do you have any objections? And let them come back and say, at this location, yes, at this, these other 10, there's fine. Because if not, they may be picking everything and you may say, that's not what we want, right?
Mhm.
Because you may look at the tree itself and say, that's not the type of tree that we want.
right, okay.
Okay?
So out of all of this, I'm gonna start a whole new diagram.
Okay,
And as I go door to door and line people up, there'll be there'll be another series of dots
mhm,
and numbers, and so it'll only be those that have agreed to do it. It won't be the wish list.
I wouldn't. I would go whatever you think you'd like, even without approval, and take it to PennDOT with what you would like. And if the people say no, then you can take it off, because to go back to PennDOT again and they say, no, that's not a good spot, go all together in one shot. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm trying to,
Like, say, we looked at like 25 spots that day.
right, and that's what
Like-
this is.
Right, when we walked around. So I would say, new owner, old owner, whatever. If you'd like a tree there, and say, even with the concrete, they want to dig that up, even if that doesn't happen, put that it's gonna happen. So they can say yes or no to it, like that's a good idea. No, that's too close to our right of way or whatever. We don't want
They
that.
might say no, then back to that owner and say, unfortunately.
You know what I'm saying?
You're
So,
avoiding-
so
you're
before you go
avoiding-
to the owner and do it, put what you would like where the spots that we looked at.
All right.
And then submit it to PennDOT, what trees you would like there, and then go back to the owner, because now it's not Benari anymore. They said yes before, but now that it's a new owner, maybe they might not do it. You know, but at least you have an okay by PennDOT, and if they say okay, then you can do it.
Now, the sale, it was fine. Okay, we already did the last 5
Got it.
Makes sense to me than trying to go back to them like, oh, we added this to it, and then it has to go through the whole
Yeah.
process again.
Eventually they'll cut
What's that?
you- eventually they'll cut you off.
Yeah.
if you bother them too much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
A lot of homework, Paul.
A lot. And I'm gonna be going around in January, February, March, you know, asking. So here we go.
Thank you.
Once.
Yeah. So, Steve, I just have a question. If the trees that are being planted in this proposal aren't in a right of way, they're not in one of the township parks or property, then does Paul even need to come to Shade Tree in order to do this? Because we really don't have jurisdiction.
Yeah, I think it becomes less clear, obviously. I think here's the challenge. Some of the trees may be in right of way and some of the trees may not, and I think that's why he's here. Until we know that they're not, then we can deal with it differently. I can tell you the trees in front of like the Casey's would be in the right of way if it's where the trees are now. If we can just, do a similar kind of thing, those will be in the right of way.
Okay.
The ones by Benari, I'm not 100% sure. We're gonna have to do a measurement and figure it out. But I know that there's not room for another lane of traffic. Like we've looked at the width of that area, and I know it's much more limited now that we've gone to 3 lanes, and in some cases, we are right up. The sidewalk is the edge. It's not that way everywhere, but it is that way in a lot of places. And so we're gonna have to work through that.
Okay. Alrighty.
It's kind of, it's one of these numbers, right? So,
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Then moving on. All right, then, 7.2, discuss possible action on Arbor Day. Carol, so we still need to kind of table this one because we haven't had
can I make a recommendation to you? Why don't you discuss the next item and then I'll make a recommendation for Arbor Day?
oh, they mean the Square Tavern?
Yes.
Oh, okie dokie. Be happy to do that. All right, so then we're gonna skip over that and 7.2, and we're going to jump to 7.3, discussion and possible action on the Square Tavern property tree review. John or Steve, did you want
I'm
to?
gonna tee it up.
Yeah,
And just so everybody
ahead.
understands, and then I'm gonna turn it over for a few moments to John to talk about what he saw there and what needs to be done. So the township took possession of the Square Tavern middle of the year last year. So that property became township property. When we took the property, George and staff became aware of some challenges with some of the trees that were on the property, brought John out to do the study. And so based on that, to look at what's there, I'm gonna let him talk about what needs to be taken out, what's kind of, I think a couple of them have actually even fallen since the time in which you've done the review. And so they continue to be issues. So we're gonna definitely have to move forward with some of these. Some of these only require pruning. Some actually require a little bit more action than that. And so I'm gonna let you talk about that part of it. and then I'll come back with you about what I think some of the actions need to be.
So that is correct. George commissioned me to go out with my staff to perform a level 2 risk study. We were looking at targets, things that would be impacted if trees or parts of the trees were to fail. We looked at long-term management for sustainability, making sure that some of the beautiful trees there get the best care. You have to remember that a lot of the trees there, management has not occurred in the last 20 to 25 years, meaning the health, structural pruning, safety pruning, soil management was totally neglected, which is very common. Our role now, along with Public Works, Township, and any contractors that'll be performing the implementation that we have prescribed, will be to make the place safe first, and that will involve removing a couple of sycamores. There's a London Plains. There's also, I think, a tall poplar out there that needs some management, but there's a lot of other trees that are going to be pruned in order to make the place safe. But also looking at longevity of where we can start adding in some new trees. So that's the high level. It's a pruning, removal, and mitigation project. And will ensure the safety of that area going forward.
So from the township's perspective, particularly the ones that are level 1s and level 2s in priority, we feel like we need to take action on those pretty quickly. And if it's a safety issue, and even if you say no, we're going to take care of it. So, I mean, that's kind of where that is. But I would like you to review, if you're in agreement with us doing the removals, we would do that over the next several months. And then we would look at and into the new year, but then we would one of the conversations that George and I had is if we're going to replant at that location, we thought that with America 250 being next year, it might be a really good tie-in with your Arbor Day planting to, if we were planting natives at that location, it would be a good way to just do some tree plantings and as well as, just it would tie nicely with the history of the property and that. And so, and there are a couple beautiful trees on that property that obviously we're hoping to do everything we can to maintain. But there are some that we don't have any choice. We have to take action on. So if we are looking for your agreement to take this action on these trees, but at the same time, there's a couple that we may take action on no matter what, just because of safety. Up for them.
Sure.
I'm very familiar. I read through the report very detailed. And so I have a question, a request and then the request is that we have a liaison from the in the decision. And we're well aware that many of them are dangerous. And I think 6 of them, Naples, are all around the rear of the tavern and very public. And taking them down near the mission. People are used to them. They may not be historical, but they're history for the people who loved in the 1900s. And so that was my request, that we have a liaison. We had some. And he. So that was, and also that when the trees are removed, that are following when the new. So there wouldn't be. So the other question, is on designation or I want to pursue having a heritage for the one that is directly next to the tavern. It meets all the criteria in your ordinance. There's no notation there. What needs to be submitted so that we. Reading your ordinance, it also mentions on private property, you only, they're okay on to make the survey. I need, the private owners to designate. Say something that does not fit. And you make the decision, basically based on criteria, whether a tree is there. So. I don't know, how do I go about getting an out?
Well, that's a really good question, because so our ordinance that you read is currently under review and under revision, and my understanding and read of the revised ordinance doesn't have the heritage tree designation is no longer in the ordinance. So I don't know, Steve, maybe you can speak to that.
But it is right now.
It is right now, but we wouldn't probably be able to do anything about it, is what we've been kind of instructed.
We're looking at the whole piece on that. I mean, it's there. There's some question whether that can sit, whether the heritage tree piece can sit with the Shade Tree Commission based on what the second-class townships code allows for shade tree commissions to do. And that's the reasons why it's in question. One of the things we were actually looking at was moving heritage trees potentially under the Historic Commission. We're not sure about that yet, but we are looking at that, which would open up a whole nother issue. But it's not that we want to do away with it. We're just trying to figure out where the state law allows it to fit. And so we have asked that the Shade Tree Commission not take that action until we figure that out and know for sure where it's supposed to sit. I know that doesn't help you answer what you're wanting to do right now, but I mean, what I can tell you, it's on public property today, and we have no intention of doing anything with it other than trying to maintain it.
Yes, and
At this
well, I
point.
read what you recommended, and that was another follow-up question. So are the recommendations, I think it was 13 trees to come down. I think you had extensive recommendations on treatments for other trees. Now, if it's approved by the Shade Tree Commission, will the Public Works or will the township take those actions that are recommended to tend to the trees? Because some of it's, more extensive than.
Yeah, I think we're going to do as much as we can financially afford to do with the monies that we have. We may be limited. If you'll look, there's actually a prioritizing.
Yeah. I have
And
it.
what has to be done years 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and
Yes.
5. So the answer is our intent would be to do all of the things as base that we could. I would like to do as many of the I like to do a removal,
Mhm.
plant something, let it get established, do another removal, plant some, I would probably not suggest, if it's a safety issue, that comes first. We got to do
But they're
safety issues.
they're removals.
Those removals have to happen right away.
Yeah, and I
but a
didn't mean that
couple-
you had to treat them. My point was, they won't opt to say, well, we'll just take it down. That is what I'm saying, as opposed to treating, when there's a recommendation of a treatment, well, it's a
Well,
little
I mean,
too
here's
much,
what I
let's
will-
just take it down. I just thought that's what I was,
I mean, there's two things that have to happen, right?
Mhm.
One is we get a recommendation from here that this is what we should do.
Mhm.
Then I have to fund all this work.
Mhm.
Depending on how quickly this gets funded, determines whether or not all of these recommendations still are valid by the time we get to doing all of the things that are on the list. So if we get to year 5, and one of these items that is, and I'm gonna pick something, and I might, although it looks like most of the year 5s are all removals. But if it was something that was a prune and some kind of other action related, and we couldn't afford it, and at that time, John came back and said, oh, no, now that step is no longer a valid step, the tree needs to come down, we'd probably be back here recommending the tree come down. But the intent would be to go do that. Go do what's on this list as it is today,
and prioritize.
and
safety,
prioritize based
plain
off of
tree,
what's on
yes.
this list.
Not I know there's a lot of trees on there. that are-
But what I would say, I want to be clear that sometimes when we go do these, we bring a tree company in to help us remove trees.
Mhm.
We don't always remove trees ourselves because of safety issues and things like that. I can't remember, I think George told me a few of these we're going to require a third party to do. If I'm bringing in a third party and I can get a bid to do all of them at one time, that's a better bid than separating it out to 2. We try to do that as often as possible because we try to save taxpayer dollars. I mean, even though one might be a 1 and one might be a 4, we may take that action. But the other side of that would be, one of the things that I was gonna recommend is that as we remove these trees, potentially Arbor Day this year, we would go back and be planting trees in its place
Mhm.
as part of the 250 history. And, we could have a lot of fun with that and make it a historic event,
And the
tie it to the-
heritage tree too, that's
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
historic.
so we could make it.
Liberty tree, I mean. you
Yeah,
can't
I
get
mean,
more
it is a
historic
beautiful
than
tree,
that.
right? And so it's an opportunity to take advantage of a lot of things on one piece of property
Mhm.
and make it a fun event and take advantage of the American 250 and all of those
Mhm.
things at one time. That would be my recommendation to the board, to the commission
Mhm.
for their Arbor Day event. They get to decide whether they really want to do that. Hint, hint, but,
Well, that's why I recommended have a liaison or 2 from the historic commission or the society that can help with that and
Yeah.
planning and for what could be planted there and the layout, yeah, because we've gone around.
because one of the things we don't want to do is plant trees too close to that building.
Mhm.
So that, I mean, you already know some of the issues that we're dealing with the building itself, particularly the basement.
Mhm.
We want to make sure that we don't do anything that would further challenge that part of the structure.
Right, and I think in the rear, even the ones that are coming down don't.
They're far
They're
enough.
not, yes.
But I
they're
don't want to
not-
get closer, is my point.
Right.
Where the roots of a tree would have an impact on that building. That's-
Right. They
Or
would.
anything near that. too.
That- Yeah,
Right, and then, so do you have a recommendation of who you would, I mean, we're all for having coordination. That's one of the things that we were talking about, for Arbor Day, is that at the next, committee of committee meetings, Carol was going to present, our idea and then provide opportunity for both greenways and trails and parks and rec, as well as, and of course, at this site, it makes perfect sense to have coordination and have a liaison. So if you have someone that you would like to volunteer, if that's you,
it's
that would
me,
be
it's me, I'm
fantastic.
sure I'm gonna find it. I might have one other, but yeah,
I would recommend that it really come from the commission,
yeah,
okay?
so, and I'm, so I can speak with them too and see if I can get somebody else to do
Okay.
that.
And I just think it makes it
I
nice.
think
'cause
it makes more sense to
it
do that,
ties the two
yes,
together
yeah.
and it's it's, you know,
That's fine.
I think it works best.
So Steve, when is the next committee of committee meetings? Because Carol, like I said, was gonna bring that up, and that would be a great opportunity to kind of knit all that together.
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
It's been temporarily put on hold. We have some issues with room, getting the room, and so we're trying to work through that,
Okay,
when it would be. And also there's, we're trying to make sure we have everything lined up for that meeting that we want to talk about.
okay, all right, fantastic. Okay, so sure, if, so then what do you recommend, Steve? Do we wait to have the liaison, or is it, are you okay?
No, I think here's what I would suggest for you. If you're comfortable with this report
Uh-huh.
and I think it's very thorough and I think it gives you all the information you need. I think you can act on this report.
Okay.
And say that you think this should be where we move forward.
Okay,
And then if you want to recommend, before action take place, that we work with the Historic Commission and talk through everything, then we can do that and move
Mhm.
forward. I don't think you need to postpone your action based on having a liaison.
okay, all right, great. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. All right. All right, so do you guys have any questions, concerns?
No, we just need a motion.
You good? Rob?
Sure.
All right. All right, so I would like to make a motion to accept and support the report provided by John. I agree too that the report is very thorough. And I support and the motion supports his recommendations to move forward with the actions as stated in the report. And as secondary action, we would like to ensure that any subsequent replanting we would do in coordination with the Historic Commission. That about right, Steve? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think it's also, you're gonna be working with them even as we take the steps forward. So
Absolutely.
not just on the replanting, but
Right,
as we
right,
take the steps
exactly.
forward. Am I saying that correct for even the pruning and those kind of things?
Yeah,
You wanted to be aware of how
Yep.
that was.
okay. Excellent. Okay, do I have a second?
Yes.
Carol has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Okay. All right. So then switching back over to 7.2, it sounds like that we are proposing to have our Arbor Day celebration at the Square Tavern site.
That would be my recommendation to you. I think
Which
it's
is only
fitting
4
for the
trees.
year if you guys are, you guys get to decide that, but that would be my recommendation. to you.
Sure. Well, it's in line with what we were proposing, or Carol had a great idea. I think we had talked about this with you before about selecting a township park to highlight. And so I think it makes perfect sense that Square Tavern would be the first one, especially given the celebration and the historic character of that property as well. So I think that's a great idea.
That would be 4 trees.
We have 4 trees?
No, it would be 4 trees to plant
Okay,
if they go with priority 1,
okay.
4 trees. But they could also do, I don't see why the parking area, the mulch rings couldn't be done at the same time, for Arbor Day, unless they do it beforehand. I don't think waiting that long, they've been run over so many times, I don't think wait until Arbor Day next year.
No,
Okay.
we can always
To you,
do stuff
John.
to get ready for Arbor Day.
Yeah.
Operation.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple mulch rings that have to be like, you just recommend seasoned wood chips? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we could do the girdling route and stuff like that, show people what the signs are, take that out. You know what I mean? Like, some, along with planting the 4 trees, do some small odds and ends on there on the end list, like the girdling route, the mulch rings, stuff like that for Arbor Day, you know, just, do that.
I think there's an opportunity to do a really good
Education.
demonstration,
Yeah.
education piece beyond just planting.
Yep,
So I think that's a positive.
okay. Okay, so I would like to make a motion to propose that the Arbor Day 2026 the site location will be the Square Tavern with the intent to plant 4 trees to replace the ones that are going to be removed, the hazard trees that are going to be removed, and also to look for educational opportunities such as some of the other maintenance of the trees on the site. And we'll do this in coordination with the Historic Commission to ensure that we're planting the trees in the areas that make the most sense and is by approval by the Historic Commission. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye, all right. You didn't say aye. Aye. All right. All right, so the motion passes. We will be doing Arbor Day 2026 at Square Tavern in coordination with the Historic Commission. All right, and then we'll come up with more details and what the event would look like. I do
Well,
totally
and
agree that
I
I
mean,
think
we
it
may have
does.
more trees, because I know, like Steve said, I don't know when you plan it. Is that like the beginning of the year you think you might take them out, Steve?
I'll have to work with George.
mean-
I don't know when he's gonna do it, but I know he's talked about it. He may try to get something between now and the end of the year on a couple of them. I don't know. So I'll have to.
Yeah, because
talk.
I was gonna say, I know you said put it out the bid, if it has to go out the bid or whatever, to conjoin some
Planning on 2025 to get them.
of the ones that have, like,
Yeah.
mulberry, it's split and stuff like that.
I think anything that he's concerned about safety wise, he's wanting to act on as quickly as possible.
All right.
All righty.
And he said there's a couple that he thinks that his team can do, but there's,
Yeah, some of them look like the ash looks like it's 4-inch in caliber. I don't think it's that big.
no,
You know, it could be.
Yeah. exactly.
All righty. So how are we doing on time, Steve? Is there a
There's a
commission?
meeting at 7, so you have,
We have like
20 minutes.
We
you
have to,
probably have less than 20 minutes.
yeah, we have to jam. Okay, so I suggest that 8.1, we defer to next month's meeting. And then I think we really need to probably just focus on the tree giveaway that we're doing, and any last minute plantings or last minute things we need to tie up with respect to the tree giveaway. Did you want to report out on anything? Rob?
Trees are ordered. George put the thing into the supervisors, I guess, so they gotta get paid when they show up. So that's all should be done. The invoice was in and everything. I guess I was kind of, is the township doing the PA1 call for these? Or is the residents? I remember.
Oh,
heard
I
the-
think the last time we went out, marked where we wanted them to be, and then PA1 call, we did the PA1 call.
Because
I'm
I think
pretty sure.
Harry did it, sat down and did it all at once. He
Yeah.
said he says it doesn't take that long, but I didn't know if they wanted the residents to get involved doing it, which could be a fiasco.
Well, what we want to do is we want to make sure it gets done,
Yeah,
and I don't want a resident not to do it. So
because
I'm
that's the
pretty
most
sure,
important. Yeah, I mean, that's the most important thing. I mean, that's a question I had.
I'm pretty sure we did it last time.
And I thought it was in one of the emails that was going back and forth. that
I was
that gonna happen.
confused. They,
I know.
those emails come from two different people sometimes and it goes back
Yeah.
and forth between Sheila that, then it's not included, then something pops up. So I didn't, that's why I was asking.
Yeah,
So you think you guys are gonna do it? Harry's gonna put it in, Steve?
I'm gonna put a note on here to make sure that it gets done.
Okay, all right. And I don't know, Sheila's, I guess, marking them where they're supposed to go. I thought she'd be
They've
doing
already,
it.
they've all
They've
been
already-
marked.
They all marked?
They're all marked. They're all marked with a white X and a flag.
because that was what I saw in the last email, that they were all, that the tree locations were all marked and that now that they're ready to do the PA1 call.
Yeah,
That's
the
my
the challenge
understanding.
would be is if we do the PA1 call today, we'd have to do it again as we got
Well,
closer.
yeah, but in case it should be done.
Get 10 days, 10 days.
Right, but I'm saying if something has to be moved, then you have to do a remark.
Yeah,
You can do a design call. You can call in just for a design call. Work it out and then you call in to let them know.
Right, so it sounds like that,
Not me, him.
so it sounds like that
He
we're all
has to tell
set.
that to Harry.
He's digging
I'll probably be digging.
by law.
Well, maybe,
By law,
or Dan. I don't know. He's supposed to help, but
by law, the person digging.
but you're digging on behalf of the township, so I'm not,
Yeah.
I mean, if we do.
I know
I'm
that,
fine.
but if they mark it, they mark it.
Your insurance has to be.
I've hit stuff before and, well, they never mark Verizon anyway. You just dig through it and come out and fix it. It's a lovely thing.
Let's not do.
I was
What's
gonna
that?
say, it's very true,
What's that?
what you said about Verizon.
It's
Is
cheaper-
Oh, it is, they won't mark
say
it.
It's cheaper for them to fix it than it is to send.
No, you know why they don't mark it? Because they used to have a trace wire in their fiber optics. They don't have a trace wire anymore, so they can't locate it. They can't.
Okay, we need to move on.
We got 1 minute left.
Okay, all right. All right, so we don't need to take any action on the tree giveaway. It sounds like we've got everything.
Yeah, I'm sure,
Everything's good,
I'll
right?
talk to
We're good?
George. He's gonna help that day, move them around and set them that 7th.
Right,
So when we dig in, so.
okay. All right, sounds good. All right, so then 8.3. Since Dan isn't here, because Dan was, I think Dan had volunteered to,
We're going told.
yeah, to take care of the tags. And since he's not here, I suggest that we bump that one to next month as well. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Alrighty. So the newsletter, did you want to go ahead and?
Oh, yeah, newsletter. What's my topic this month, guys?
Other than,
Maintaining trees in a drought situation.
Okay,
Since we're in a drought now, we were in a drought last year.
but we did one.
Well, it can be, yeah, it can pretty much be,
How to properly water.
When's it go out? The thing.
it has to be done and turned in by about the 10th of the month.
well, it'll be in November.
So after the tree planting.
Yeah,
So do the
Well,
tree planting.
Why don't you do it on the tree planting?
I did one. I
No,
already did the tree planting.
no, the success of the planting.
Oh, I can do it, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
just like a follow-up on it.
Yeah.
How well it went.
Follow up and
Yeah, and then
pre-care.
pictures and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay, yeah, of course.
Okay, so, the tree inventory, we still need to do that. How about we all just try and chat and figure out a good time? Let's just do that. Any update on the ordinance revision? Steve?
Other than I know it's being looked at, none.
Okay. Okay, alrighty, do we have any comments come in from the commission? Think so.
No, nothing.
Public comment? Anyone from the public like to speak?
Rest of them are here for the next meeting.
No, that's what I think. Okay, all right, then, hearing none, then we adjourn. All right.